When was the last time you walked into your own home and felt truly light, like the space was holding you, not weighing you down? I remember a morning not long ago when I stood in my living room, coffee in hand, sunlight pouring through the window, and yet my eyes kept falling on the piles, the stacks, the "I'll get to it later" corners. And here's the twist. It wasn't because I was lazy or messy. It was because I'd been holding on to too much, thinking I was protecting memories. But in reality, I was trapping myself in a version of my life I'd already outgrown. No one really talks about this, but as we get older, clutter can quietly take away something even more precious than square footage. It can take away our sense of control. It can make us feel like our home is no longer ours, but a museum we're forced to maintain. That's a fear many of us carry quietly. Not the fear of dust or mess, but the fear of not being able to keep up, of slipping into the background of our own lives. I've been there, and I can tell you, you don't need a year-long project or a professional organizer to reclaim your space. In the next 48 hours, you can change the way your home feels and the way you feel in it with just 7 ruthless, minimalism-driven steps. Not ruthless in a harsh way, but ruthless in the sense of choosing you over the weight of things. And if you stay with me until the end, I'm going to share the one step that frees up the most space in the shortest time, and it's probably not what you think. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and how has your relationship with your home been lately? We read every single comment, and your story might be just what someone else needs today. All right, let's step into step 1. It's small, but it might just shift everything. Step 1, the one room, one mission rule. Have you ever started tidying one small corner? Maybe just clearing off the coffee table, and before you know it, you're knee-deep in the closet, halfway through sorting a drawer, and somehow also in the kitchen staring at a pile of dishes, while the original corner still looks the same? That's the trap most of us fall into. And it's exactly why the one room, one mission rule is so powerful. This isn't about speed cleaning or trying to make your whole home perfect in one go. It's about narrowing your focus so you can actually finish something and feel the relief of a completed space. Here's how it works. You choose one room, just one, and then decide on a single mission for that space. Not organize everything in the living room, but something like clear every surface or make the floor visible again. That mission becomes your guiding star. You don't wander into another room to put something away and get sidetracked. You don't decide to start on a second project halfway through, and you definitely don't let "while I'm at it" take you off course. I learned the value of this rule from my Aunt Marie. She's 68, with a bad knee and a soft spot for keeping just-in-case items. Years ago, she used to bounce from room to room, chasing little tasks until she was exhausted and felt like she hadn't done anything worth showing. Then one day, she closed the door to every other room and made a deal with herself. Bedroom only, and I'm not leaving until the floor's clear. It took her a few hours, with breaks in between, but when she finally sat down on the bed and looked around, she smiled and said, "This feels like winning." That one small victory gave her the confidence to do another room the next day, and within a week, her home felt noticeably lighter. Not perfect, but lighter. The silent fear many women over 60 have, though they rarely say it out loud, is that their energy is too unpredictable now. They worry they'll start something and not be able to finish, and that it'll make them feel incapable or behind. But this rule removes that pressure. It's about depth, not breadth. You don't have to touch every part of the house. You just have to transform one space in a way you can actually see. And once you can see it, you can feel it. And that feeling can carry you into the next project when you're ready. As my neighbor June, who's 72, once told me, "When I walk into my one finished room, it feels like hope." That's the magic here. You're not just clearing clutter. You're creating a safe, calm space where your mind can rest. And you can do this too. So, here's my gentle nudge. Choose your one room, one mission today. Which room would you start with? Share it in the comments. You never know who you might inspire to take their first step too. Now that we've anchored your focus on one space at a time, the next step is about a trick that can help you clear decades of clutter from your life in just hours. And it starts with what you don't put back. Step 2, the 90% rule for ruthless decisions. What if every single thing in your home had to pass just one test before it was allowed to stay? The 90% rule is simple but powerful. You only keep an item if you are at least 90% sure you truly want or need it. That means if you pick up something and your mind hesitates, even just a little, that hesitation is your answer. 10% of doubt is enough to let it go. I remember visiting Marjorie, she's 72, and her bedroom closet was so full she could barely close the doors. She told me she had pieces she hadn't worn in years, but kept just in case she might need them. We took one afternoon, made some tea, and went piece by piece. Every time she wasn't instantly sure, the item went into the donation pile. In just 30 minutes, she had filled 4 big bags. She looked at me and said, "I thought it would hurt, but it feels like my closet can breathe again." The unspoken fear many of us have is, what if one day I regret it? What if I need it later? But the truth is, that just-in-case pile is often just a collection of future burdens. From my own experience, I've found that the things I let go of are almost never the things I miss. And if I do think about them, it's more about the memory than the object. One of the most freeing things you can say to yourself is, if it's not a 90% yes, it's a no. You can try this today with just one drawer or one shelf. Pick each item up and see if your heart gives a clear yes or a small pause. You might be surprised how quickly you can decide. And remember, you can do this too. Once you feel that rush of clarity, you'll be ready for the next step, because now it's time to add a bit of speed to your decisions. Step 3, the 45-minute blitz method. Could you transform a room in less than an hour? Most people think decluttering has to take the whole day, which makes them not even start. But the 45-minute blitz method changes that. You set a timer for 45 minutes, choose one room or even one zone, and work with complete focus. No phone, no wandering into other rooms, no stopping to read old papers. When the timer rings, you rest for 15 minutes, get a drink, stretch, maybe sit in your favorite chair. Then you can do another round if you want. I first tried this with my mom's bedroom. She had been putting it off for months because she thought it would be exhausting. I set the timer, put on her favorite oldies playlist, and told her, let's just see how much we can do in under an hour. By the end of that first round, the floor was visible again, the nightstand was clear, and she actually smiled and said, "I didn't know it could feel this easy." That's the magic. Time limits trick your mind into focusing on action instead of perfection. For many women over 60, the hidden fear is that they no longer have the stamina to finish what they start. But with a blitz, you don't have to finish the whole house. You just need to finish the round. My personal view? Decluttering is less about tackling the mountain and more about taking one strong step at a time. And when you see a visible change in under an hour, it builds momentum. Try it with your kitchen counter or your entryway. You might shock yourself with how much lighter the space feels. You can do this too. And once you've felt the power of a focused burst, the next step will make letting go even faster. Step 4, the 4-box purge. What if every single item in your home had only 4 choices? No maybes? No, I'll decide later? The 4-box purge is as simple as it sounds, and that's what makes it so powerful. You get 4 boxes or bags, and you label them: keep, donate, trash, relocate. Then you pick up each item and decide right away which box it belongs in. There is no 5th pile for "I'm not sure," because that's where clutter breeds. Ellen, who's 70, told me she had not seen her kitchen countertops clear in over 15 years. She loved to cook, but the clutter had slowly taken over. One Saturday morning, she tried the 4-box Purge. At first, she hesitated with nearly every item. She'd hold a cracked mug and think of the friend who gave it to her, or she'd wonder if she might need that extra blender one day. But having those 4 boxes made the decision feel like opening 4 doors. You choose one, and then you move forward. In just 3 hours, Ellen filled the donate box twice, threw out a whole bag of broken or expired items, and relocated the things that didn't belong in the kitchen. She called me later that day and said, "For the first time in 15 years, I can put my hands flat on this counter. It's like I can breathe again." The unspoken fear for many of us is, what if I don't know where something belongs? That indecision is what keeps us stuck. My personal belief is that decisions get easier when we remove the endless options and narrow it to just a few clear paths. Decisions are easier when there are only 4 doors. That's what Ellen said, and I couldn't agree more. If you want to try this, start small. Just 1 shelf, 1 drawer, or 1 small table surface. You'll be amazed how quickly you can decide when you've only got 4 choices. And remember, you can do this too. Even 1 box today can start the shift. And here's a step that makes decisions even more freeing. Step 5. The replace with space mindset. What if every time you let go of something, you didn't rush to fill the gap it left behind? Most of us have been taught to see an empty shelf, a bare spot on the floor, or a cleared corner as an invitation to buy something new, to complete it. But what if we saw that space as a gift? A quiet breath in your home, a moment of calm that costs nothing and gives you back so much more than another object ever could. The replace with space mindset is simple but powerful. Every time you release one thing from your home, whether it's a stack of magazines, a chair you no longer sit in, or a decorative item you've stopped noticing, you resist the urge to put something else there. You let that space exist. You let it be. I remember when I finally donated the small side table in my living room. It had been there for years, holding nothing but a dusty plant and a pile of unread mail. I thought if I removed it, the room would feel empty, maybe even cold. But the opposite happened. The sunlight poured into that corner in a way I'd never seen before. The floor felt open, my breathing felt easier, and for the first time in a long while, I realized that less could actually feel like more. For many women over 60, the idea of open space can trigger an unexpected discomfort. We've spent decades filling every corner, every drawer, every closet. There's a quiet fear. If my home looks too bare, will it feel like I've lost something? Will it feel like I've given up? But here's the truth I've learned. An open space is not a loss. It's a gain. It's a chance for light to reach places it couldn't before, for you to move freely without bumping into things, for your eyes to rest instead of scanning clutter. As one woman, Margaret, 74, told me, "Every empty corner in my home is a corner where my mind can breathe." She had lived in the same house for over 40 years, always buying new decor to freshen things up, until one day she tried leaving one wall completely bare after taking down a bookshelf. That empty wall became her favorite part of the room. She said she would sit in her chair every morning with her coffee, look at that wall, and feel like she was sitting inside a deep sigh. This step isn't about creating a minimalist showroom. It's about giving yourself permission to not fill every gap. It's about understanding that your value, your identity, and your life's richness are not measured by how much you own or how much you display. When you see a space open up, let it stay open for a week. Notice how it changes the way you feel in that room. Does it make you walk slower, stand taller, breathe easier? Let that feeling guide you. And here's something I want you to remember. You can do this too. You don't have to overhaul your entire home to embrace this mindset. Just pick one spot today. Remove one item that doesn't serve you anymore and simply leave that space alone. If you're ready, maybe even take a picture of it. Let that photo remind you that space itself can be beautiful. And if you're not ready to let go of something big, start small. Clear the top of a dresser, a bedside table, or a kitchen counter corner. Feel the shift in your shoulders when you walk by. You might be surprised by how light you feel. So I'd love to ask, what's one space in your home you could leave open this week? Share it with me in the comments, because your story could be exactly the encouragement someone else needs. And once you've experienced the quiet power of empty space, the next step we're about to take will help you see that the most powerful decluttering is sometimes not about the objects at all. Step 6, the silent sentiment test. Do you keep things just because they whisper memories? Maybe it's an old teacup from your grandmother's house, a faded scarf from your first trip abroad, or a wedding dress that hasn't seen the light of day in decades. You touch it, and for a moment, you're back in that time, hearing the voices, feeling the emotions. But here's the quiet truth. Some of those whispers bring peace, and some bring heaviness. The silent sentiment test is a gentle way to know the difference. Hold the item in your hands, close your eyes. If it makes you smile in your heart, keep it. If it tugs you into sadness, regret, or a version of yourself you've outgrown, it's time to let it go. You're not erasing the memory. You're setting yourself free from the weight it's been carrying. I remember sitting in the living room with Janet, a warm and gracious 69-year-old who had a small closet full of clothes she no longer wore. She pulled out her wedding dress. It was yellowed with age, a little frayed at the edges. She held it for a long moment and said, "This reminds me of a time that doesn't exist anymore. I don't want to keep looking back at it like I lost something. I want to remember the love without holding on to the fabric." Letting go of that dress wasn't about forgetting her past. It was about choosing her present. For many women over 60, the silent fear behind sentimental clutter is that without the object, the memory will vanish. But memories don't live in china cabinets or in boxes in the attic. They live in your heart, in your mind, in the way you tell your stories to your children and friends. Keeping something that quietly hurts you is like keeping a song you never want to hear on repeat. Margaret, 74, once told me, "I realized I was holding on to sadness disguised as nostalgia." That's when she gave herself permission to pass on her late husband's old armchair, the one she could never bring herself to sit in. She donated it to a small community library, and now she says she smiles every time she thinks of someone else reading in it. This step isn't about forcing yourself to purge everything with meaning. It's about honoring the difference between joy and pain, between what lifts you up and what pulls you down. You can do this too. Choose just one sentimental item today and run the silent sentiment test. See what your heart says when you hold it. If it says, "I love this," give it a place of honor. If it says, "I wish I could stop feeling this way," set it free so it can bring joy somewhere else. You may be surprised at how much lighter you feel afterward. I'd love to know, what's one item you've been holding on to that you're ready to test today? Share your story in the comments, because your courage could help someone else take the same step. And now, the final step we're about to explore will show you how to make all of these changes last, not just for 48 hours, but for the rest of your life. Step 7, the daily drop habit. Could 10 items a day change your life? It sounds too small to matter, but sometimes the smallest steps are the ones that carry you the farthest. The daily drop habit is simple. Each day, you choose 10 items to let go of. They can be big or small, from a stack of old magazines to that chipped mug in the back of the cupboard. You set them aside for donation, recycling, or the trash, and you stop at exactly 10. Why stop? Because stopping keeps you from burning out. I remember meeting Claire, a gentle and spirited 71-year-old who swore she had too much history in her house to ever feel light again. We started her on the daily drop habit. Day 1, 10 items. Day 2, 10 more. By the end of 30 days, she had released 300 things without a single day of exhaustion or regret. She told me, "It's not just my home that's lighter, it's me." Many women over 60 fear they won't be able to keep up with decluttering, that the enthusiasm will fade and the piles will grow back. But the daily drop builds confidence, not overwhelm. 10 items a day is so doable, it feels almost playful. You might even find yourself looking forward to it, like a daily gift you give to your future self. And here's the truth. Letting go in little doses adds up faster than you think. 10 a day is 70 a week, over 300 a month. That's a whole closet, a whole garage corner, or a whole attic, transformed without a single marathon cleaning session. Claire laughed when she realized she hadn't missed a single thing she'd let go of. Instead, she noticed more air, more space, and more ease in her daily life. So, what if you started today? Choose your 10 items. Let them go. Write the date on your calendar and see how much has changed in just 1 month. You can do this too. Which corner of your home could you start with tonight? You don't need 48 hours of constant, exhausting work to transform your home. You just need 48 hours of intention, spread out in ways that honor your body and your life. Every item you release is a little more space for who you are now, not just who you were then. You're not giving up your history. You're making room for the life you're still living. Which step will you start with? Share it below. You might be the spark that helps someone else finally take action. And if no one's told you today, you're not behind. You're ready. You can do this too. Until next time, my friend, be kind to your space and even kinder to yourself.